Okay, let's dive in. So, Rotting Christ. 37 years. Can you believe it?
It's a huge milestone, really. And for a black metal band with that kind of history?
To still be putting out stuff that makes people sit up and take notice, that's pretty impressive. Their sound, I mean, it's definitely evolved over the years.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really interesting here is that even critics seem genuinely surprised finding their new work fresh. It says a lot about their creative energy still being there.
Totally. And that brings us right to this deep dive. We're focusing squarely on their brand new album, Pro Xristou.
Exactly.
And for you listening, we know you want the key insights, the important stuff, but quick and clear, right? No wading through tons of text.
Yeah, we're aiming to give you just that. We're working off a pretty detailed review of the album, and interestingly, the reviewer kind of went in a bit hesitant.
Oh, like worried it might be more of the same.
Maybe, yeah. Like, could they really pull off something new? But spoiler alert, they seem pretty won over by the end.
Okay, good to know. So our mission then is, what exactly makes Pro Xristou click? What's the sound, the feel, the themes? What makes it stand out?
Let's get into it. I think one of the first things the review really flags is, well, it's more melodic than maybe people expect from Rotting Christ.
More melodic. That is a change.
Yeah, it's described as a noticeable shift anyway. Not like a complete change of genre or anything, but definitely leaning more into melody.
Which, after so long, might show some confidence, right? To explore a bit without worrying about losing their bass.
Exactly. Or maybe just a natural progression for them musically. The review even said they've sort of never sounded quite like this.
Wow. But, okay, here's the interesting bit you mentioned.
Yeah.
It still feels like black metal. Like
Yeah.
the original spirit is there.
Apparently so. It's that blend,
Yeah.
holding on to the roots while bringing in something new. It's a tricky balance.
Definitely. How do you evolve without, like, watering it down or just chasing trends?
Right. And the reviewer seems to think they've managed it, even using words like reinvented, which, well, that's high praise after nearly 4 decades.
For sure. Okay, so atmosphere and themes. The title track, Pros Trexerize, sounds like it kicks things off pretty intensely.
It does. The description is Saki's, the vocalist, listing anti-gods and demons over this really heavy, dark riff. Says a serious tone right away.
And that seems to carry through. The review mentioned lots of biblical, mythological, historical stuff.
Yeah, it's not just random songs. It feels more like they're telling stories, building this whole narrative across the album, like chapters in some epic poem or something.
That sounds really engaging. The review used phrases like grandiose and cinematic, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Pointing to Sakis' vocals being really expressive and these big epic choirs they use makes it sound like a really immersive listen.
So the atmosphere isn't just background noise, it's key.
Absolutely central, it seems. The reviewer even said it makes you picture things, like historical events. They mentioned the sacking of Rome, for instance.
Wow, okay. So it connects with the visuals, too, maybe the artwork we can talk about later.
Yeah.
It really draws you in.
That seems to be the goal. Yeah, real depth.
All right, so we've got this epic, atmospheric, thematic foundation. Let's get into the actual music, the nuts and bolts. What are the sounds creating this?
Well, you've still got those classic Rotting Christ elements, dark riffs, kind of hypnotic sometimes, really powerful drumming, holding it all together, dark bass lines, standard but effective.
And the guitars?
The lead guitars apparently add this sort of mystical, maybe even a bit gothic layer on top.
Okay, and then Sakis's vocals described as rough, right? Plus those choirs again, all building that grand feeling.
Exactly. But interestingly, the review singles out a couple of tracks for being, well, catchy.
Catchy. Rotting Christ. That's surprising.
A little, yeah. Like Father, Like Son is one. Apparently has a really memorable guitar line, good structure.
Harmony, even.
Harmony, yeah. And even the solo is called catchy, but still dark, still threatening. And Sakis's vocals on the title line apparently really hit hard. Like a dark earworm. I can almost imagine it.
Yeah. And the other one mentioned is La Lettera del Diavolo.
Okay.
Its catchiness seems to come more from how everything works together. Instruments, choirs, vocals. It's faster, apparently. Great percussion.
More energetic.
Right. And varied vocals, too. Even some female vocals are mentioned.
So they're finding different ways to make things memorable, not just simple hooks.
It seems so. And the reviewer stresses that pretty much every song has these special moments. Suggests it's an album you need to listen to more than once.
Definitely sounds like it rewards digging in. And the production. You mentioned it helps.
Big time, apparently. It's described as really clean, but also rough.
How does that work?
Well, like, you can hear everything clearly, all the details and nuances,
Okay.
but it hasn't lost the power or the aggression. It's not overly polished. Finding that sweet spot, you know?
Yeah, that's crucial for this kind of music. Okay, let's shift to songwriting. The review touched on their usual approach versus this album. Right. Rotting Christ often has a maybe more direct, simplistic style sometimes. Not simple as in bad, just straightforward.
Uh-huh. Template-based was the phrase used.
Something like that. But this album, Xristou, apparently feels less like it was built from a template.
So more varied, more dynamic, maybe?
Seems like it. A conscious effort to step away from just repeating formulas, which is always good to see.
And it avoids that trap of sounding too much like Sakis Tolis's solo stuff. That was a concern mentioned.
Apparently, yes. Those worries were unfounded, thankfully. This album seems to have its own clear identity.
Good. So it's the mix, then. The straightforward riffs combined with these new melodic bits that keeps you hooked into the story.
That seems to be the idea. It reinforces that whole cinematic feel we talked about, like the music scoring the narrative, hitting emotional beats like a film.
And the structure helps with that too, right? The narrations at the start of songs.
Yeah, that's a neat touch. Sakis doing short narrations, kind of setting the scene for each track.
Building anticipation.
Exactly, building towards some kind of climax for the whole album. It adds another layer to the storytelling.
Makes it feel very deliberate. The review mentioned Yggdrasil, that runic title, as being like the calm before the storm.
Suggesting there's a real flow, peaks and valleys across the record, not just relentless intensity.
And then the closer Sawars gives
Yeah.
a sense of resolution.
Yeah, like the big finale, the end of the movie before the credits roll, ties into that cinematic idea again.
It all sounds very cohesive. What about the visuals, the album cover?
Yes, the artwork. It's a painting, Thomas Cole's Destruction.
Okay. Famous painting.
Reasonably well known, yeah. The reviewer notes it's maybe been used a bit by other bands.
Ah, okay. A potential drawback?
Perhaps slightly, but they ultimately felt it fits the album's vibe, you know? The historical, maybe slightly apocalyptic themes. It works.
Makes sense. And we already covered the production. Powerful, modern, helps everything shine.
Definitely. Elevates the whole package.
So pulling it all together,
Yeah.
the verdict seems pretty clear, doesn't it?
Overwhelmingly positive, yeah. Xristou comes across as a really strong, solid album. Stands out in their discography because the performance is just so compelling.
It captures that rotting Christ essence, that Hellenic metal sound they're known for.
Absolutely. It seems to tick all those boxes while still feeling fresh. The review even puts it in context, saying it's one of several strong recent releases from Greek bands.
Suggests the scene there is still really vibrant.
Indeed. A testament to the band and the wider community.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for you, the listener. What do we got? Xristou shows rotting Christ evolving, bringing in more melody, but keeping that black metal heart.
Right. It's packed with these big historical mythological themes, creating this grand, almost cinematic atmosphere. Very immersive.
Key tracks like Father Like Son and La Letra del Diavolo even have a surprising catchiness, but in their own dark way.
And the songwriting feels more dynamic, less formulaic than perhaps some past work, all boosted by a really strong, clear yet rough production.
So, for you, if you want to get a handle on where a legendary band is at right now, or just see how a genre like black metal can still evolve.
Xristou is a fascinating example. It's got that immediate impact, but also layers to uncover if you spend time with it.
Definitely sounds rewarding.
Yeah.
So here's something to maybe chew on after this.
Go on.
How do bands, artists with these really long careers, keep finding ways to innovate and surprise people, without totally ditching what made fans connect with them in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? That balance between the new and the familiar.
Think about other bands you follow, artists you admire who've been around for ages. How do they manage it? It's an interesting thing to consider, that tightrope walk of artistic longevity.